Hello, hi. My name is Sarah. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Euno. And in the next 30 minutes, I'm going to walk you through a demo of the Euno system, the Euno metadata management platform, and how it powers governance automations and AI. And I will begin by giving you a background and some context about Euno, and then we'll go directly to use the product and show you how things work and how you can benefit from it. So I'm gonna share a few quick slides. Um, we're in 2025, and in 2025, everyone needs access to data. That's for sure. This has been the task of data teams in the past decade or so. That's self-serve analytics. But also in 2025, self-serve analytics is powered by AI. I think the conversation is AI. Everyone expects AI to just work with just one big obstacle. If you cannot explain your data to AI, it's just not going to work. It's just not going to understand your data. And that's where Yuno is here to help. And I'll try to walk you through, how we build the platform and how you can use it to deploy AI now at scale beyond the scope of just small POCs that show promising results but cannot scale. So let's get started. So I'm not sharing. Just a second. I was thinking I was sharing the screen. Let me share my screen. Yep. Okay. So now that you see my screen, self-serve analytics is great until it isn't, right? Because, and what's the traditional flow growing? We have growing business demand. More and more people want access to data. They build data products. They build reports. They even build AI applications. And as this becomes a large scale operation, you end up quite often with a complete data chaos. Do you see the screen now? If anyone, okay, cool. And what do I mean by data chaos? So, data chaos means a clutter. So a pile up of reports that no one knows, what's relevant, who created what, who is using what, whether you can delete things or not. It's a series of trust issues, so many inconsistencies and duplicates and siloed metrics, conflicting metrics that drive disagreement rather than decision, and cost issues. I mean, you hire more engineers, you build more and more things, you have a clutter and a super, a cluttered environment and a lot of chaos, but you also pay for all of that. So compute expenses spiral out of control. So lack of proper governance create these significant issues, and cost is also usually the indirect result of clutter and trust, right? Now, with this problem, and what you see up here is a classic situation where you have, different teams, different domains, different reports reporting different numbers for the same metric. I guess this is a situation that is very familiar for many of you. AI is not going to save us. And many teams are trying AI. This amazing sweet spot of business users asking questions, the agent expecting the agent to figure it out. If you ask an agent what's the number of daily active users added in the past quarter, and you don't have a well organized environment or a way to help the agent understand your data, they're not going to be able to help you. And that's a very sophisticated agent usually will just get hallucinating answers. So we want AI to work, and we want those engines to report reliable results. And guess what? We even have the answer for that. Quite often the answer lives in your metadata already. And by metadata, I mean the entire structured context around data, lineage and logic and usage and ownership and semantics. All of this is metadata. So theoretically, if you're able to leverage, metadata, you know who is using what and how often and how things are calculate it and find all the similar things, and being able to understand how it's built and on top of which data assets and whether the data assets are trusted or not and who built them and on. If you are able to leverage all that in a smart way, theoretically you understand your data. So every AI strategy, every self-serve strategy is a metadata strategy, but metadata is quite often unusable, and I think that's a key um, step in this presentation. Why is metadata so often unusable? And I guess every large scale data team and company has some sort of metadata platform. You have metadata in your warehouse, you have metadata usually in your BI tool, you might have some sort of data catalog or metadata platform. And the problems are that metadata is sometimes it's surface only, it only captures surface level info. So it might have titles and descriptions, but not the code and the ownership and the usage and all of that. Many times things are scattered across tools and layers, so it's very hard to stitch things together. A typical example, you have one very good system that has end-to-end column level lineage, and you have another system that analyzes the query log for some usage insights, but they're not stitched together. You cannot say, well, that's how often this calculated field in Tableau is used. The metadata is often unstructured, so you might have critical context that is lost in the code. For example, whether this transformation is following your coding or your coding standards or your naming conventions. That's buried in the code. There is no such metadata property follows naming conventions, right? A very typical problem with metadata, which was perhaps the reason traditional data catalogs, became less and less relevant, is that a lot of the things are maintained and created manually. So it's relying on people and processes to keep it relevant. A lot of things are not automated. You need to ingest lineage, ingest glossaries, things like that. And finally, and that's the tricky one, and maybe the biggest differentiator of Euno, which I'm going to show you, metadata is rigid. What you have is what you have. But what if you would want to introduce a new concept, enrich your metadata with things that surface how much you can trust this, how much this follows the way you want your data models to be presented or to be developed? There is no ability to enrich it with more metadata that will reflect how you work. And to be completely, in one sentence, what Euno is a metadata management platform. We double down on metadata. We transform your existing metadata that you already have into an actionable foundation for governance and AI. And what this means is that for data teams, Euno can be used to declutter unused assets, to cut costs, to align metrics, to automate governance, automate guardrails. But for AI agents, and here is the big, bless of Euno, they can rely on Euno to get all the context needed to understand and trust the data. I want to repeat that. I mean, at query time, when the agent has a query to run, something like what's the number of daily active users, Euno will help the agent understand what's the right place in the data to query that information from, based on trust signals, based on usage, based on lineage, based on embedding of descriptions and titles. So I'm going to pause the slides now. I'm going to begin by the first part, how Euno can serve data teams, and then how AI agents integrate with Euno, and actually Euno can serve the entire business. Moving on to sharing, everyone can see the tool. So that's the home screen. It's a metadata management platform, so I'm just going to start using it, and as I go, show you various capabilities. And I'm beginning with something very simple, like find me DBT models called team account. Okay, so I'm using natural language. This is very common today, so no big news on that. But what this natural language prompt is generating, as you can see here, is an EQL, querying language query. So you don't need to be a master of the querying language, although it's very intuitive and very fast. You can learn it. You can just use natural language prompt. So I found two DBT models. I'm gonna just pick one. So this is a DBT model, and we can see the code for this DBT model, the SQL code. And this DBT model defines a Snowflake table. I haven't said that. I'm showing you a demo account that uses Snowflake, DBT, and Tableau. We integrate with all the warehouses with various BI tools. We work with DBT and without DBT, but that's just for the sake of this demonstration. So this DBT model defines this Snowflake table. And if I go to the Snowflake table from here, I can get information. So metadata and tags, usage and optimization, things like the cost, for storage, for write events, for read events in the past 14 or 13 or 60 days, and usage insights. How many write queries, read queries, and this table got, and how many credits it cost me, and so on. So we have usage and optimization insights about every asset in your data model, the schema, so the columns, the relationships, the immediate ones, upstream and downstream, but also the entire upstream and downstream list of dependencies. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a specific column here. So for example, account name. So that's now a column in a table in Snowflake. Again, we have the relationships, but I'm going to show you something interesting about this column, the impact analysis. So from the context of the column, we can see all the downstream column level dependencies that will be impacted. We found 3,000 if we change or delete or rename this column, and we present them with their actual usage, how many impressions. So one of the key capabilities of Euno is to get usage data not just for tables in the warehouse, but also on the BI side. So we will have usage of every Tableau dashboard and tile, but also every calculated field data source measure in Tableau. So for example, these are all the Tableau dashboards that were actually used that are going to be impacted by this column, but there are always, there are another 240 dashboards that are impacted but have zero usage. So this helps you get not just an impact analysis on a column level, but also a prioritized one. I want to look only on the things that actually matter, that someone used in the past 30 days, so they actually have value. And what I'm showing you now that you can explore here, by the way, you can have the same thing with owners. Who are the owners? How many, nodes they own, and how many impressions? What's the usage for this? So we have a column level impact analysis. That's how you can explore it in the data model. You can also integrate this with your CI pipeline. So whenever you generate a PR, you create a new DBT column, you delete a DBT column, you rename a DBT column, you can get the entire impact analysis as part of your CI in a file. And we can fail your PR if you configure that. We can approve your PR, and we can just give you information. So one typical use case of lineage impact analysis on a column level is provided this way. I'm going to show you now the lineage in a graph for the column. And also, some people like to explore graphs, others would prefer explore tables. So you can always get the impact analysis, so all the fields that are impacted downstream in a table view and filter it. But you can also get it in a column view. So that's the column that we started with. We immediately show you the step to the left and to the right, but we can expand and see the entire lineage and to the left and the entire lineage to the right, and you see everything here. Okay, all the way on a column level, all the fields. And in Tableau, this means calculated fields in data sources and in custom SQL tables and so on. So that's an overview of lineage, of search, basic search capabilities, column level impact analysis, and so on. But what's unique about Euno is that using this querying language, and I'm going to show you some examples, you don't just find a DBT model or find a table or find a schema. You can run much more complex queries like, please find Tableau dashboards that depend on tables in the analytics schema. This is no longer, find me something that's called that way, or very simple. This is a complex query that requires a very specific platform and technology in order to be executed in a reasonable time. So all the dashboards that are in their upstream, they have tables that belong to this schema. You immediately get the list of dashboards. It found 19 dashboards. Another cool example of the same sort, how you can query dependencies. What are all the DBT models that are used by Tableau dashboards with more than 10 impressions? So you can run that. It will generate a query for you. And now you get all the DBT models for that. So that's how you can use this querying language. And now I'm going to show you how you can enrich metadata, what I mentioned before, with more metadata properties, and then how you can use this with the same querying language. So I'm going to this tab here that is called custom properties. And with Euno, you can build custom properties, meaning metadata tags. We call them active metadata tags, and they can be LLM based or they can be EQL based, the Euno querying language. I'm beginning with an example that is LLM based. So this is a new property that we call has implicit column selection. So this organization wants all the DBT models, the SQL transformations, to not include a select star from an external table, to be explicit. And we want to be able to segment which DBT models are implicit, have implicit columns, and which are only containing explicit columns. So we can define a new property which will be applied to all the DBT models, and we can give a prompt that explains, you want to analyze the SQL code and attribute a tag to every DBT model, whether it has implicit columns or only explicit columns, and then all the DBT models will be automatically tagged. If something changes, this tag is live. So they will get always the right tag based on the code. That's one simple example. I want to show you another example. Is this a gold layer table? Now it's an EQL based example. So I'm going over all the tables in the warehouse, and I'm defining if it's defined by DBT, for example, and it has a tag data catalog. I call it in the gold layer. It can be in a certain schema. It can be with a certain name. With a certain upstream condition. Whatever you want to define, it's completely customizable. Now, with this definition of gold tables, I can define what I consider a golden dashboard. So a golden dashboard, so you can compose those active metadata tags using active metadata tags. A dashboard is golden if it only uses tables from the gold layer. Now, let me go back to how we were using natural language. Now with this concept, I could ask a question like, do we have any dashboards wearing the gold layer? Okay. And now this querying language, it knows the new properties that we just created. The new tags become part of the language. So it will give me all the dashboards that have upstream in the gold layer. So that's how you can use active metadata tags to enrich metadata. So these were like basic capabilities. And now I'm going to show you which use cases you can unlock with these capabilities. The first one, very straightforward. You can review all the assets that you have, all the things that were not used. So, for example, extracts, refresh jobs in Tableau, how much money you pay for them, and how much they're actually used. We're wasting so much money on refresh jobs with a daily or hourly frequency that no one's using. And we can even build a workflow on top of that. Whenever a refresh job goes below a certain usage in a certain month, you can create a ticket or send a notification or raise an alert. Moving on to decluttering insights, things that are not used in Tableau or in dashboard views, calculated measures, calculated dimensions. Which brings me to this cool piece here. Think about those active metadata tags that I just explained to you about, and we can have an active metadata tag called AI certified. So this dashboard is considered certified if it follows a certain rule. In this example, we picked a simple rule: if it queries only DBT upstream. If it queries something else, it's not certified. Now I can have a KPI like that, like a governance KPI, which are all the certified dashboards in my warehouse that are highly used. And I can see here that the top used dashboard is not certified. So if I'm exploring this top used dashboard here, I can, explore who was using it, and let's go to the lineage just for the example to understand why it was considered not certified. I can explore all the way, and you see this is a huge lineage, so I have the entire thing over here. But let me go back to the dashboard. This dashboard queries these two views, and there is a Tableau published data source over here, and there's a custom SQL query over here in Tableau. But this custom SQL query is connected directly to a Snowflake view, which is not a DBT model. And this happens so often, right? Analysts creating a SQL query to build something fast, and they join a Snowflake view with, some other DBT models, but this violates the rule of certification. Now, one final example here to give you that. So this gives you the understanding of how important trust signals like certified can help you understand what is built on trusted logic and what not. Now let's look at the importance of usage. So this is a breakdown of the top used Tableau calculated measures. And I'm going to select, the top used, one of the top used measures here, and I'm going to see potential conflicts. So it's going to open a table of calculated measures that have a similar name. And look, it found 12 different things. That's so common, right? Inconsistencies, duplicated measures that have the same name or a similar name. Only one of them was actually used. So when an AI agent will want to answer a question associated with this metric, it might get confused by all those 12 versions. But actually, if it could access the usage insights, it could say, well, this is the one that is actually, has the highest chance to be the correct one. Now I'm going to integrate all of this together to show you how this can be used to help your AI agents. I'm going to show you two examples here. One, think about any AI agent you connect to your data. Euno is a metadata platform. We only access your metadata. But think about an AI agent like Claude or ChatGPT or Snowflake Intelligence, Cortex Analyst, or Databricks Genie, or all those, independent tools, Analytics, TextQL, Dot, and you name it. There's so many of them. They access your data. They get a question from the business user. Um, Let me repeat that. What was the average number of daily active users last quarter? Now, what happens is that this agent connects to Euno's MCP server to retrieve metadata. That's when Euno is going to give the agent the missing context that helps it understand the data. Sorry, I'm doing the same mistake again and again and again, so I'll pause less. So we're connecting to Euno's MCP server, and Euno is going to run semantic search, scan for dashboards using DAU, which is semantically equivalent to daily active users, and select only certified dashboards because it has those trust signals. And Euno found actually two candidates: DAU, that is used in this dashboard, users engagement, and DAU new, that is used in product statistics, both certified. Here is how often this one was used in the past 30 days. This is how often this one was used. We even have the creators, the owners. And, with this information, the user can select the right one and provide the correct answers. And Euno can even prompt it to the right dashboard. So this is how context helps AI agents understand the data in real time, and to surface this context in real time. A lot of pre-processing needed to happen in the background. That's the role of Euno in the game. The same thing for MCP servers like Cursor. I'm going to run this here. So you can use Cursor as an engineer and ask, can you find me the Tableau dashboard? This is a real integration that we did recently. And now Cursor will communicate with Euno's assistant to get the information from the BI layer. Also, Cursor works just to develop DBT models and has no access to that. How many impressions did it have in the last months? And it can also ask, can you find, and it can also go all the way to, which DBT models power this dashboard, and things like, can you please explain how this events model is calculated. So Euno can feed Cursor with real-time context as you develop. It's not just for business users, it's also for developers. Which ultimately brings me to the last demonstration here. We have just a few minutes left. I want to show you the Euno Assistant. So we have those agents for business users that we feed with context, but we also developed an assistant for data users. And I'm going to share with you an example that is so common for analysts and for data team. Questions like, in the customer success overview dashboard, I see that the daily active users metric is dropping, whereas in the product analytics dashboard, it looks like it has gone up in the last months. Where is the discrepancy coming from? And that's just a typical question. So I'm going to run this. And for an analyst, it means, they need to search the dashboards, they need to run the analysis, they need to read the code, they need to go 1, 2, 3 steps in the upstream lineage to find the discrepancy. But the assistant does that for you because the assistant can run those queries. It's a master of the Euno querying language. So it found the dashboard, it's going to find the views, and it's going to then find the metrics upstream of these views. It gives you all the steps. Everything is transparent, so that you can actually have the analysis, the entire analysis. Now it's going to find the data sources and the DBT models. And I'm sharing this with you. But while this runs, if anyone has question, you're welcome to share to use the comments feed over here, and we'll just wait for this to get you the actual discrepancy. And that's where our demo ends. So time for questions, just final minutes, and we will end with the discrepancy. So you see the conclusion. The discrepancy is due to difference in the event types considered for daily active users in each dashboard. The message Slack bot activity, you see there is one. The product analytics dashboard includes an additional event, message Slack bot. The customer success overview board only counts users based on login, posted to discussion with email, and change section event. So that's the discrepancy, and it found something that would take an analyst 1.5 days to 3 days to solve in less than a minute. So that's the power of the assistant. Thank you very much for joining us. And if you have any question, you can also reach out directly, book a demo with me, schedule a meeting, and I'd love to deep dive into your use cases, your challenges, and figure out how we can help you. Thank you very much.